Whether this is your first class or your first time dabbling in filmmaking, or you've made several feature films, I guarantee you will come out of this course learning how to make a movie from start to finish without the ridiculous technical know-how and without going to film school. Yes, this is your film school. This is your film school. Now, if you went to film school, great, congratulations, that's wonderful. I'm here to tell you, you don't need to go to a university and spend years and years and years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do so. All you need is a weekend, your time, attention, and focus and energy. And I know because you got this course, you are serious about your filmmaking career. You are serious about the bright lights of Hollywood, baby. Why do you want to make a movie? Is it because of the fame, the fortune, the notoriety? Is it to get girls? Is it to become more popular in general? Is it to become really famous and have a lot of followers and have a lot of money? That's all well and good. If fame and fortune are purely your only reasons for getting into film, I will sadly be the bearer of bad news that you will most likely give up sooner than you even finish making your first film. Now, this is just the reality of the situation. There are always exceptions to the rule, of course, but chances are if you're like a regular guy who grew up without any film connections, without knowing anyone in the industry, without knowing how or where to start when making a movie, this course is for you because you can save all the time, effort, energy that I spent the last 20 odd years that I have on my filmmaking quest and journey. I'm putting everything into this course. This course is not a crazy, intense, technical aspect, giving you a million tests and quizzing you every second about apertures and shutter speed and frame rates and all this stuff. There are plenty of other courses that you can find either here on Kajabi or on YouTube, and there's plenty of tutorials that you can learn till the cows come home. And if you want to be a camera guy solely, refund this course and get your money back because this is not that course. I do not want you to think that you're going to learn all this technical knowledge about film. What you will learn in this course is you will learn how to make a movie from start to finish without the crazy technical know-how, without having a uncle that's Steven Spielberg, without having money in your pocket at this time. You will be able to learn the skills, the tips, the tricks in order to produce a film from absolutely nothing, with no ideas, no scripts, to having a feature film under your belt and premiering it on the big screen in front of your town, your city, your friends, your family, the cast, the crew. And I guarantee you, if you follow these steps in this course, you will learn that making a movie isn't this crazy esoteric thing. It's not this high pie in the sky, something that you just can't reach. When you're first thinking about making a movie, I understand. It could be completely intimidating. It could be, oh my gosh, you got to do a million different things, and that's just in pre-production. Okay, and then you got to do more in production and even more in post-production, and then post-production becomes this never-ending process. I get it. It becomes this Mount Everest looking mountain that you think there's no way in heck you can ever climb it. And I'm here to tell you that you're probably not going to do it. You're not going to do it, so just give up right now. I'm just kidding. Of course, do not give up. You've probably already been told not to pursue it, or people have laughed in your face. Ha 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 ha. You cannot be a filmmaker. I have had that story told to me so many times, and if I listened to those people, I would never have made the movies that I have at this point. A lot of this is mindset. Once we get past the whole mindset part, we'll get to the nitty-gritty brass taxes, baby, to get you the know-how of what it takes to make a movie and what you need to do from point A to point B. Spoiler alert, a lot of it is simply problem solving. What is the problem? You don't have a script? Well, this is how to get a script or how to make a script, okay? What's the problem? You don't have money? Well, this is how to acquire money. This is how to make a movie for little money. This is how to make a movie with big money. What's the problem? You don't have any actors. What's the solution? The whole casting process, okay? That and beyond. I will help you solve your problems, your filmmaking problems, from pre-production to production, all the way to post-production and release and distribution. So, are you with me? Yes Are you? Yes. Okay. All it takes is common sense, discipline, and motivation, and you will be able to make a movie. But before we go further, I must warn you, yes, you, not everything will always work in your favor. Things will go wrong. You will get in arguments with friends or family members saying that you're chasing a pipe dream. Certain parts of your movie won't turn out the way you want it to. Or you think, oh, I could make a movie, it's easy. And then you try to do it and you realize how freaking hard it is and how many hurdles you have to jump over and how much longer it takes than you thought it was in the beginning. And some people who think that they can make a movie in 3 months, it ends up being 3 years or 10 years. So I'm not here to tell you this to intimidate you or to turn you off to the process. I'm here to not sugarcoat stuff. Yeah, okay, we can sell the sizzle, sell the Hollywood dream of making a movie, being on the red carpet, and premiering it in front of everyone. And I will tell you from someone that has done that, it is the most magical feeling on planet Earth. Nothing will replace the first time I premiered my movie Rideshare to a packed audience. It happened to be my mom's birthday. It was a magical day. Everyone loved it. It was all the hard work that I had in culmination and release. Making a movie and releasing it, it's like getting married and having a baby on the same day, right? You're releasing your child out into the universe and you're marrying all your cast and crew and the audience members. That sounds kind of odd, but you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you will by the end of this course, and your journey has just begun. I am excited for you and the stories that you are going to tell. Hollywood is dried up. Hollywood is out of ideas. It's time for people like you to tell your story, a story that you know about, a story that you thought of in your head, true, false, science, fiction, reality, nonfiction, fiction. It is up to you, the future generation of filmmakers, to take filmmaking to the next level. And I believe that you can, and I believe that you will, and I'm here to help you along the way. You're going to learn how to write a script, where to find the ideas for a script. You're going to learn how to cast actors. You're going to learn how to plan and schedule your shoot. You will learn all the steps from pre-production to production to post-production, and even distribution, and even your red carpet premiere. Every step of the way, you will learn how to make a movie. Even if you don't know what f-stop means, even if you don't know what aperture means, even if you don't know what three-point lighting means, even if you have never met an actor and you live in Timbuktu, you will be able to learn how to produce a film from start to finish by the end of this course. Fair enough? Yes? Okay, let's go. Before we get to the meaty nitty-gritty of this program, let me teach you a little bit about your mindset. A lot about making a movie is a mental game. You're racking your brain the whole time. People are asking you a million questions. You got to think of a million different things. And also get past a lot of self-doubts. If you're anything like me, I could have a lot of self-doubts thinking, oh my gosh, what if I fail? What if I do something wrong? What if something bad happens? You have to get past that point. You have to be mentally tough, and you have to be prepared for things to not go your way all the time. Some days you'll have a magical day. You guys, everyone will show up on time. You guys will film amazing, impeccable takes. You'll get golden hour shots, and you'll wrap early, and you'll have the best food on set, and then you'll get a free pizza for no reason. All these cool things will happen. The rainbow will come out of the night sky, and it'll be a magical moment in your movie. And then you'll have other days where you can have any and every technical failure. Your drone operator could show up to set without his drone, or your drone operator could lose their drone in the lake. That's happened to me. I was the drone operator. That's another story. There could be a forest fire in the vicinity of your film. That's happened to me too. Luckily, we didn't get burned down. There could be other obstacles that are completely out of your control that you have to face. But what you have to realize is that, bottom line is, the show must go on. You must continue to solve problems. You can't let setbacks really get you sad. You know, you might have your lead actor flake out on you the day before you start filming. That's happened to me too. What you do in these certain situations, you have to think on your feet, think about the solution, not dwell on the problem. You can get upset about the problem, but only temporarily. Time is money on set, and you have to keep going. You have to make your movie, and you can't give up on your movie. You cannot give up on your dreams. There's too many people that you're working with that are relying on you with your movie. Too many audience members that you'll be depriving of your story. Too many reasons to not give up. So don't give up, never surrender, okay? All right, cool. Glad we had this talk. Let me ask you this question. Now, I'm only talking to the filmmakers that haven't made a film yet. Here's my question to you. Why haven't you made a movie yet? Now, your answer will tell me a lot about who you are and what your mindset is. Right off the bat, two biggest reasons, time and money. I don't have the time, I don't have the money. Number one is probably money, let's face it. If they had all the money in the world, they'd probably be able to make the time. Even if they had 5 kids, they could afford a babysitter. They could afford to take time off. They could bring their kids with them on set, put them in a trailer. And so that is the number one objection. Now, what other objections I've heard? Oh, I don't have the equipment. I don't have the connections. That's another big one. I don't know anyone in the industry, so I can't make a movie. There's no way. I don't know anyone in the industry. Or they say, oh, I haven't come across the right script yet. Whatever your reason is, I'm here to tell you, and I hate to tell it to you because I'm not here to sugarcoat stuff. I'm here to help you make a movie. I hope you understand that. You might be triggered by some of these things that I say. You must be able to face the facts and face reality that whatever reason you have for why you haven't made a movie yet, that is all a BS excuse.
But Tremain, I have 5 kids and a wife, and I've got 0 money.
It's a BS excuse.
Tremain, I'm just in high school. How am I supposed to have made a movie yet?
It's a BS excuse. I don't care whether you're old, young, rich, poor, whatever your reason for not making a movie yet, it is all a BS excuse. Now, I'm here to tell you this and this alone. And if there's one thing that you take away from this course and nothing else, it's this. And I'm telling you in the first freaking module, baby, you can make movies or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. Either at the end of the day, you'll have a movie or you'll have an excuse. You have to get rid of any and all excuses. Even if real, legitimate, horrible, terrible things have happened that have detrimented your production. Those things happen, but that doesn't mean that you can't finish it. There's no reason why you cannot finish your movie, whether you have technical issues or not. You have to get past them. You can make movies or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. Okay, glad we got that out of the way. Now let's learn how to make a movie, baby. All right, in pre-production, you will learn how to develop an idea for your movie. If you already have the idea of your script, how to write your script. If you've already written your script, how to take your script and plan it out in pre-production. How to host auditions and cast your actors. This is a big one. Actors are going to make or break your movie. How to find and hire capable crew that is going to make your movie look and sound amazing and make your production process run smoothly, and you're going to have a nice ride or die team by the end of the time. You guys are all going to be proud of your movie. It's going to be great. Okay? And how to plan out your production so you can have an amazing film shoot, how you can solve problems, film everything that you can on set. All that goes into this pre-production. So a lot of filmmakers just want to make their movie. They want to skip the pre-production process. Other filmmakers want to plan out every single tiny little nitty-gritty detail, and then they never want to actually shoot the thing. Yes, okay, maybe it's better to be over-planned than under-planned. Trust me when I say this, not everything in production will go exactly according to your plan. Okay, so you have to be able to have a little bit of flexibility in your plan, and I'm going to teach you how to do that, how to plan out everything so you can get everything that you need to get done, so you're not over-planning, so when one little thing goes wrong, everything else goes wrong and it all goes to crap and you don't know what to do after that. Pre-production is a very important process of the movie, and it is the framework. It is the building block. You know, the script is essentially the blueprint, and then you got to lay out the foundation. That's the pre-production. Okay, I'm done with this building analogies. All right. Pre-production is so important. I don't want you guys to think because it's not sexy, okay? Pre-production sitting down, writing stuff. It's a lot of fun, but it can be very boring and tedious at times. Planning, logistics, sending emails, making phone calls. A lot of people love the red carpet glitz and glamour of Hollywood. And trust me, it is very sexy. It is very awesome. And glitz and glamour is incredible. But 99.99999% of the time, making a movie, I hate to break it to you, but it's writing emails, making phone calls. Okay, so maybe that encourages you. Like, oh, I can write an email. I can make a phone call. Yes, you can. And yes, you will. And yes, you are making a movie. And maybe it doesn't feel like you're making the movie because you're not on set working with the actors. You're in pre-production. But you are setting up the building blocks so that your life is easier by the time you get to set and you're filming on set. Because once you're there, once you got the cameras, the actors, the locations, people have driven X amount of time to the location and you have everything scheduled out, you're going to wish that you planned out everything a little bit more versus just saying, oh yeah, let's just go here and make a movie. The more you really plan each and every step according to your script, the smoother the process will be. The chances are you won't have to do reshoots. You'll get everything in production the time up. So, okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox here. So you want to come up with a good idea that you can execute. This is something that coming up with an idea is very crucial. Has anyone ever told you an idea for a movie and you just can't really understand what the heck it's even about? You have to be able to digest it pretty quickly. You have to be able to explain it really easily. If you can't explain your movie in one sentence, it's a bad idea. It'll just make your life so much easier when it comes to raising money, when it comes to pitching the idea, when it comes to after it's already out and you're telling people to watch it. Do you want to tell them this whole essay of everything that's really esoteric and no one understands by the time you're telling them what your movie's about? They're just giving you blank stares. No, my movie Rideshare. It's about a killer rideshare driver. That's it. That's all I needed to say. You know, if I want to elaborate, I say it's about a killer rideshare driver's wild night in Los Angeles. Automatically, people get what it's about. They get the idea. My documentary, The Cat Down Story, it's about a cat adoption center in Oakland, California that helps rehabilitate unwanted cats and makes them lovable pets. Boom. That's it. My movie Simp is about an Instagram model that gets kidnapped at a fake photo shoot loosely based on true events. Boom, baby. A lot of first-time filmmakers make horror movies, and I'm right there in that boat. Why? Because horror movie audiences are typically a little bit more forgiving than trying to do this crazy Oscar-winning drama. A lot of filmmakers want to make drama. Do you know how hard it is to make drama? Because to make a real drama that people like, people care about, you're going to need incredibly masterful actors. Not just good actors, you're going to need masterful actors. If you don't have the budget for Meryl Streep, I don't recommend you go in with a drama. 2, typically you might bore your audience to tears. You don't want to give them this sad, sappy thing. Again, make your movie. All right, make your movie. Where does this idea come from? A lot of times these ideas come from real life. Did you have this wacky teacher growing up? From your friends, from your family, from growing up, from news stories. You could be inspired by fairy tales, by novels, by books. Inspiration is everywhere. What type of story do you want to tell? And why do you want to tell it? Now, this is so important because you are going to have to be married to this idea. If you don't actually fully love this idea, or if this idea isn't gnawing at the back of your head for so long that you're like, gosh dang it, I need to make this into a movie. I've had that so many times where I'm like, this isn't going away. With Simp, it was like I heard this news story. I'm like, okay, this would make a great movie. I didn't take any action on it. Didn't write the script until a couple years after I'd had that idea. But it was just gnawing at me. I'm like, this guy, I just got to make this into a movie. I mean, it's too good. So also, okay, another great tip. You could base your movie around a location. If you have a cool or unique part of your town, your city, where you work, where you grew up, do you have an uncle that has a cool lake house that would make a great setting for a script? These are where your ideas can come from. So you can kind of think about the location first, and then think about the story around that. Or you could think about the characters first and then create the location around it. I always think about my favorite movies, the best movies that I know of. They have a set location, a set world. You're transporting an audience into a world for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and you want them to think of it as such. Napoleon Dynamite, you get the feel of the town, the school, the characters around it. Utah, okay, well, the Utah hills, and it just works because everything looks and feels consistent with that world. Think about what you have at your disposal. Does your family own a dentistry? Maybe you could film your things at night about a killer dentist who's killing his patients with root canals. I don't know. Or think about Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith worked at a convenience store. He wrote dialogue based on the characters in that convenience store, and he made a movie around that. Not a lot really happens in this movie. It's 95% dialogue, barely any really action, just people talking. But the script is very clever. Characters are funny. You kind of get immersed into this world at a convenience store. If you take and make the script centered around one or a handful of locations, you're making your whole life a lot easier. As long as you don't make it so stale where it's just one shot, one person in a corner, like, okay, that can get old after an hour and a half. But people behind the Ryan Reynolds movie Waiting, they were waiters for the longest time. Jobs and workplaces will give you gold. They will give you gold because you will not have to make up any dialogue or anything. You'll just think about, oh my gosh, can you believe what this lady said at work to me? Can you believe what this one woman said? You know, it could be your neighbor. You could have a wacky neighbor. Your movie could be about, oh my gosh, I think my wacky neighbor is a murderer and killed their wife and buried her in the backyard. You know, think about a movie like Disturbia, Rear Window. You can kind of take a neighborhood village and turn it on its head. Think about where you're at in your life. Okay, are you a college student right now? Now think about, oh my gosh, now you got access to a college campus. You could center it around the college. If you tell another friend about it and they're like, oh, that's a good idea, or if they don't really respond to it, then you might not have a good idea. But if it's something that you're fired up and you want to be like, okay, I want to see this movie, chances are it would make a great script. Have you heard this before? You want to kiss your script and kiss your movie. What do I mean by that? Kiss means keep it simple, silly. Some people say stupid, but I say silly. Keep it simple, silly. It doesn't need to be this super pseudo-intellectual movie. Keep it simple, silly. When in doubt, keep it simple. Okay, so let's recap. Where can you get your ideas? Your workplace, where you live, where you grew up, your school, your neighborhood, the news, any location that you have access to. And you can center the story around that. Easiest thing to do, if you want to make a horror movie, awesome. Set it in a cabin in the woods, have it around 5 teenagers, and chop them all up. If you tell someone your idea and they're scared, or they're like, ooh, this is a scary movie idea, then chances are you have a good idea. Whatever it is, make sure that you love that idea because you're going to have to be explaining this idea to everyone. You're going to have to get other people on board with your idea too. If actors think that your idea is kind of crappy, you're going to have a lot harder time casting them. You're going to have a lot harder time getting crew. You're going to have a lot harder time doing anything. But if people love your idea, it'll make things all the more easier. And also, if you don't love the idea, then why the hell are you making this movie? It takes so much time, effort, energy to make a movie. You have to love it. If you hate it, why are you doing it? Don't do it, okay? Unless you like torturing yourself, then by all means, torture yourself. Okay. Don't give your script a million different locations. I've been pitched scripts or stories before, and they're like, oh my gosh, Tremain, I've got the best idea for a script. It starts off, our lead character, Janet James, is running at the Eiffel Tower. Then all of a sudden, the Eiffel Tower explodes. And next thing you know, she wakes up. The Taj Mahal is behind her. And then she blinks her eyes, and she's at the Tower of London. And there's someone who's trying to chop her head off because she's been transported to medieval times where they did that. And then the next thing you know, she's in Canada and then Antarctica. It's like, no, like, why do you set so many different locations so far apart? Do you know the budget you need for that type of travel in your movie? If you're going around the world, yeah, that's the dream. If you have hundreds of millions of dollars, you could afford to fly everyone out, go around the world and film these crazy cool set pieces. Unless you're Tom Cruise filming Mission Impossible 7 in Rome, you are not that yet. You're a first-time filmmaker. Make a film that you know that you can make and hone your craft. And chances are next time, hopefully you can get a bigger budget and graduate to this. But I want to increase your chances of making your movie to 100%. The more locations you have, you're raising the budget and you're giving yourself terrible odds of completing your movie. The same principle applies even if you don't have worldwide different locations. It could be interior apartment. James wakes up, turns off his alarm. Next thing you know, he's at the coffee shop. Next scene, he's at the bookstore. Next scene, he's at the grocery store. Next scene, he's at a rave downtown. Next thing, he's on the roof. Then he's in the basement. Then he's here. Then he's there. Like, for every scene that you have, think about logistics. You're going to have to logistically move the whole cast and crew, unless you're shooting everything on green screen, okay? And if you have the magic to do that, by all means, do that. But if you're putting these real locations in your script, think about logistics, because you will have to actually physically move your cast, your crew, do company moves to these locations. It's extra time, extra energy, extra money that you're putting on your script. Yes, I get it. You want to give production value to your movie, which is great, which is fine. But think logistically, okay? Think, hey, if you want to set your movie in a bar, for example, but you want to have some kind of other cool outdoor locations around it. For me, I'm born and raised in Sacramento, so I'm thinking about this cool boat called the Delta King. Maybe they're at this cool Delta King boat bar, and there's a cool bridge in the background, right? You still have one location, but you're adding a lot of production value to it. And if you want to go to Old Town Sacramento or something like that, hey, you're right there. So if you're planning your script and you're planning your characters and your locations in enough areas where there's enough variety in the script to not feel stale, but you're still able to quickly do company moves, that is where you want to be. Make your life easier, not harder. If you want to make a movie set in 1400s, good luck. If you're just going to a million different locations, you're not exactly adding anything to the script or to the story. You're just trying to show off all these cool locations, but that can only take you so far. What is really important about the movie is the characters, the dialogue, and the story. People are going to care about the story and the characters more than all these cool locations that they are. Like, at the very least, if they hate your characters and your story and they can't connect to them, they'll say, oh, they were cool locations, but the story sucked, the characters sucked, I didn't care about any of them. Is that something that you want? The late and great Alfred Hitchcock always said, to make a great movie, all you need are three things: a great script, and yes, a great script. You get a great script, you will make a great movie. And if you spend a lot of the time on making a great script, everything else will fall into a place. Focus on the script, make it great, and the rest will be history. Easier said than done, right? Okay, so let me tell you some simple things in how to write a whole script. One, if you've never written a script before, like, oh, hey, Tremain, well, I don't know how to write a script. I've never written a script, and I don't even actually want to write a script. Fine. That's fine. You don't have to write a script. But what you do need is find someone who has already written a script. Maybe you have a best friend who's a writer that has written a script, and you read it, and you're like, oh, this is a great script with only a couple of different locations, handful of characters. We could definitely do this. Let's do this. You don't have to do everything on your own. It becomes easier if you can do it on your own, especially if it's screenwriting or if you've already written a script. Yes, you don't have to consult the writer. You don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to option a script. You don't have to do any of that. But just because you don't know how to write a script or just because you haven't written a script doesn't mean that you can't find a great script to make a great movie. And if you don't want to write it, frankly, writing can be tedious. I personally think writing's fun. My first script, Rideshare, I wrote in 30 days on my phone. So you don't need a ton of time. You don't need a ton of crazy inspiration. You just need to be diligent and write your script. If you aren't a writer and you don't know a writer, it doesn't mean that you can't get to know a writer. Go to Facebook groups, put that out there. Hey, I'm looking to make a movie. Are there any writers out there that have a script? I guarantee you will find people that have scripts written that are dying to get them made. A lot of writers aren't producer types, okay? A lot of writers are very intellectual. They're super smart. They can write witty dialogue, but they themselves aren't necessarily the most social butterflies. That's just in my experience. A lot of the writers are more reserved. They're more in their head. The writer-producer types, like to be a producer, you have to be able to knock on doors. We're going to have to be able to make a lot of phone calls, write a lot of emails, and that doesn't necessarily make you a writer. A lot of producers can't write their way out of a paper bag. They couldn't write a scene even if they wanted to, but they get the job done. So if you're thinking, okay, well, I don't know anyone. I can't write a script. I don't know how to write a script. I've never written a script. I don't have a script. I don't know anyone that's written a script. We're going to go back to the first lesson. You can make movies or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. You could write a script or find a script, or you can make an excuse why you haven't written or found a script, and you can't do both. So get the script, make it a handful of characters, handful of locations, keep it simple, move on. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. The answer is Celtics. Celtx, Celtics. It's free and it's easy to use.
But Tremain, what about Final Draft? It's only $200.
If you're asking that question, you annoy the shit out of me, because Celtics is free, is the same damn screenwriting. It's an app on your phone as well. You can write it while you're taking a dump. I have done that, and I will continue to be able to write stuff on the toilet for free in screenplay format. It's very easy. All right, now what is screenplay format? Keep in mind, you're writing a screenplay, not a novel. Let me say that again. You're writing a screenplay, not a novel. A lot of first-time screenwriters have sent me a script, like, hey, what do you think of my script? Their first page is a whole description of stuff. There's no dialogue, there's no nothing. It's this long paragraph about the whispering in the wind. The main character is thinking about what he ate for breakfast that day. He's thinking about his past, this yada, yada, yada. Screenplays are a visual format. This isn't a novel. In a novel, you can get inside a character's head. In a novel, you can go into crazy detail about this. In a screenplay, you show, don't tell. The more you show, the better your movie will be. How many times have you guys seen a movie or heard dialogue where it's like, hey, Jane Smith, who I grew up with and I met when I was 8 years old and we had the same class together? You know, people don't talk like that. People don't say in that crazy description. A lot of people try to tell the audience everything by telling them literally in the script versus showing. It's a visual format. You can write this whole paragraph about John is really depressed thinking about XYZ ABC as he walks down the street, okay? All you need to do is one line. Say like, John is walking down the street with all the thoughts in his head. That's it. You show it. The audience can pick it up that he's thinking about something as he walks into the street. Next thing you know, if you're looking at your script and there's way more description than there is dialogue or action. Action is one thing. If you're describing what's happening, that's one thing, because then you're showing. But if you're trying to describe every little tiny detail, then you don't have a screenplay, you have a novel. All right? This is why a lot of screenwriters aren't novelists, and that's why a lot of novelists aren't screenwriters. John was thinking about Mary as he walked across the park, smelling a flower that he picked 3 blocks ago because he thought it was a beautiful flower that smelled nice. He looked at the trees glistening in the moonlight. He was thinking about the stars, the sun, his Aunt Betty that made strawberry pie on Friday afternoon, and he was hoping that one day he'll be able to meet the love of his life. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? It's too wordy, it's messy, it's telling you a lot of details that you don't need to know that don't even matter. Here's a better example. Exterior park. John, 27, strolls in the park holding and smelling a flower. John bumps into Sally, 38, librarian, green hair, drops all her books. Sally, well, excuse me, John. I'm so sorry, I was thinking too much and I didn't realize where I was going. They both try to pick up the same book. Their hands touch. They look up at each other. This is all stuff that you're showing people, you're not telling.
Oh my gosh, Tremain, I can't write 90 pages. You kidding me? That's so long. Ugh.
How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. How do you write a script? 1 page at a time. Typically, 1 page on a script equals 1 minute of screen time to your movie. So if you want an hour-and-a-half long movie, how many pages does your script need to be? Got any math wizards here? That's right, 90 pages. First off, screenplay format, you're not writing an essay, okay? You're not writing a research paper. This is a screenplay. This is a script. So there's a lot of space between, like the dialogue in between two takes up a lot of space as well. So it's not as intimidating. But how can you really do that, right? Every script has a beginning, middle, and end. What you want to do is you want to outline your script, and then you can fully flesh it out. The hardest part about a script is the outline, because then you're figuring out every single thing that happens in your script. You don't want a script that's like, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. You're just showing things that are happening, and nothing's happening. Nothing's actually really happening. What you want in your script is conflict. If you have a character that is untouchable, unbreakable, everything goes right in their world, you have a very boring movie. A great lesson that I learned is from South Park. I'll link that in the description below. And they describe it very well. Writing your script, it's like, this happens, but before they could do this happens, this happens. So, right, so you say, but then, unless you want to add in conflict, you don't want everything to be peachy keen. Also, every story has a beginning, middle, and end. Beginning, exposition. If you guys want to look at the hero's journey, look at the hero's journey. But here's a really brief overall example of what it is. You introduce all the characters and the world. That's the first 10, 15 minutes of your movie. At the first 10, 15 minute mark, you introduce a conflict or a challenge. The character has to take on this big challenge in order for the movie to happen. And then the character has to kind of deny the quest. They have to not want to do this because it's intimidating. It's going to be too much. They want to give up. That's when they meet a mentor. So they meet a mentor, someone that is going to guide them and help them on their journey. They set off in their journey and they have a lot of trials and tribulations on the way. And what you want to do is crescendo all the way up to a climax. Bad thing happens, and then a good thing happens. A worse thing happens, and then a better thing happens. And then an even worse thing happens, and then the best thing happens, okay? What you basically want to do is get your character stuck in a tree, have other characters throw rocks at that character, and then get them down from that tree by the end. Once they overcome this big obstacle, you want to show a little bit after, and then happily ever after. You know, this is a very overly simplified explanation of this, but you'll get it. The two easiest parts about writing a script and creating your story, the easiest part is the beginning, and almost an even easier part is the end. If you typically know where you want to start the movie, you might want to know where you want to end it too. The toughest part is the middle. You might fly writing the first 15, 20 pages, and then you might get stuck because the middle is actually really tough because it's the meat of the story. You want to basically keep it going. But you know what? Going back to what I was saying before, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. If you tell yourself you can write 1 page a day, what happens? After 90 days, you will have a 90-page script. But I think you guys can do a little bit better than that. Let's give yourself 30 days. You need to write 3 pages a day, and by the end of 30 days, in a month, you will have a 90-page script. Now, also another thing, your script does not have to be perfect, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, the first draft, but you want to keep writing. A lot of writing is rewriting. So just because it isn't perfect, maybe the dialogue is a little bit wooden at first, that's okay, but power through it, get that first draft done. After the first draft, give yourself a couple days break, then look at it with fresh eyes, go through it again, and revise it. Some of the stuff you wrote, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Other stuff you wrote, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is great. I love it. So don't be intimidated too much by the process because you can rewrite it. It doesn't have to be perfect right away, but just have fun with it. If you're writing characters in a dialogue, you know, you could play the what if game while you're writing. Well, what if this were to happen? Ooh, this could be interesting. What if that were to happen? Oh no, that's kind of stupid. You know, that's why you have different drafts. That's why you keep writing it. Let other people read it. Feel free. Take someone that you really trust. Take your best friend, your parents, your cousin, the weird neighbor next door, some random person on Craigslist, you pay them $20 to read your script. Whoever it is, let them read the script and see what they think of it. Chances are they might see some mistakes in it. They'll have a fresh set of eyes and they'll be able to see something that you don't see. If you have writer friends or if you have filmmaker friends that you guys read each other's scripts type thing, that's great. Or even better thing, probably the best thing you could do with your script is a table read. And you don't need a person for all 25 characters in your script. You can have a table read with you and your best friend, you and your worst enemy, you and someone from your class, whoever, just you and one person. You guys each alternate characters. Do a table read. And once you do the table read, you'll actually understand a lot more of the dialogue. Does this sound wooden? Does this sound bad? Does it sound cheesy? Does this sound realistic? You might laugh. You might cry because it's so terrible. But you'll be able to get a feel for how your script is, because once you get the dialogue flowing, you'll get a better idea how the movie's going to be on screen and how the characters are going to be interacting with each other. You want to be able to be pretty proud of your script, but it doesn't have to be completely 100% perfect before you shoot. Okay, it really doesn't. You just have to set a deadline, which is a very big key, okay? Goals are just dreams with deadlines. If your dream is to make a movie, all right, now just change the word dream with goal. I actually don't really like the word dream that much because people say like follow your dreams. If I were to follow my dreams, it would get really weird real quick. I've got some wild dreams. I'm flying like I'm Superman, trying to run away from bad guys, and all of a sudden now I'm stuck in tar, and then I'm on the planet Jupiter, and then someone, dreams are not, I don't like dreams. Dreams are weird. Follow your goals. And goals are just dreams with deadlines. So set a deadline for the first draft of your script, okay? And set it 30 days from now. Whatever it is, stick to your deadline, okay? Worst case, you can extend it, but that's on you. How many times do you want to extend your damn deadline before you can actually write your own script? Okay, so set your deadline, make it harsh, tell your best friend and accountability partners saying, hey, 30 days from now, you will have the first draft of my script. 30 days later, they'll be like, hey man, where's your script? Or hey girl, where's your script at? Right? So set that and know that that's just your goal. And it's just the first draft, okay? Let go. Doesn't have to be this masterpiece right out of the gate. I know you want it to be one. I know you want it to be perfect and that it has to be, or heaven forbid, you think that your first draft is a masterpiece. Now, you're going to have a lot of problems because you will get a reality check real quick, learning that your first draft is not a masterpiece. And if you actually just take a couple days after writing it and then relook at your script, chances are you will look at it and be like, oh, okay, no, this is not a masterpiece. Okay, so set a deadline for your first draft, all right, then your second draft, then your third draft, and then final draft. 1, pay it straight out of your own pocket, from the blood, sweat, and tears, from the job that you have normally, whatever money you saved up, take a lump sum of that and make your movie. That is awesome, and I commend you for that. I've done that a few times, and it's definitely possible. If you don't like asking other people for money, if you don't want to raise other people's money, that is totally a commendable way of going about doing things. And if you have a little bit of money stashed away, you can work with what you have and make your movie. 2, you want to raise the money for the movie. You want to find film investors for your movie. You can pitch them the movie and have them buy percentages of the film. So let's just say you want to raise $50,000. Well, each percentage point could be $1,000, right? So you say, hey, do you want 5% of my movie? It's $5,000, and you can go about doing that. The percentage could be whatever you want it to be. It could be $100,000. It could be $1 million for 1%. If you're making an Avengers movie, hey, it'd be worth it. $1 million for 1%. Chances are you're probably not raising $100 million. You have to think about your budget in a way that, people are like, oh, I just need $1 million to make a budget. Do you think someone's going to just give you $1 million to someone that's never made a movie? If you've never made a movie, never written a script, and you're a first-time filmmaker, are you going to raise $1 million, $10 million? Are you going to find someone with $1 million, $10 million? Chances are no. I don't want to discourage you. If you can, by all means, do it. Or 3, you crowdfund the movie, you put together an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter, you explain your film, and you raise the money that way. Just because you don't have the money doesn't mean you can't raise the money or you can't find the money for your movie. Planning and scheduling. It doesn't sound sexy. It's not the red carpet glitz and glamour of Hollywood. It's very unsexy scheduling and planning and traveling and parking. Think about parking. How many cars are you going to have on set? And typically, if you're a low to no budget film, try to do it 10 days to 14 days and knock it out in 2 weeks. Pulling the favor route, just plan weekends. So say like 14 days you need total, right? So that's just 7 weekends, 7 2-day weekends. So Saturday, Sundays, 7 Sundays in a row. Try to do it in a row because you build that momentum and you keep that going. What's terrible is if you film something and then you say, oh, well, I can't shoot for another 7 months. And then it's like, what? You lose all that momentum, and then trying to get everyone to come back. People end up moving out of town or changing locations. Just do as much as you can. Schedule it as compact as possible. In post, when you have all the footage and everything, yeah, you can willy-nilly and take your sweet time with that, which is what you don't want to do. It's better to plan your whole shoot out for when you guys are there. When I was filming Rideshare, we initially had a location in Hollywood, and I'm like, oh yeah, we'll just have everyone park in Hollywood. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Parking is a nightmare in Hollywood, right? So we ended up getting an RV, and then we had a location in Silicon Beach where there was ample parking. There was no problems parking. There was no metered parking, nothing like that. LA is a whole different beast if you're dealing with parking. If you're anywhere else in the world, typically, unless it's New York or a big city, you're okay with parking. Sacramento is a lot easier to figure out logistics parking unless you're downtown. That's another story. So think about logistics. Think about travel time, time in between setups. If you have multiple scenes in multiple locations per day, that's fine, but use your head, use your brain, and schedule it out so they're not so far away from each other. And if they are far away from each other, make sure it's worth it to go out there. So you're filming all your scenes out there in one day. So you're not traveling 3 hours just to get one shot and then 3 hours back and you have all your cast gear. Use your head, use your brain, logistically think about it and have it make sense. Also, if an actor says, oh, I can't make it this day, it helps because you just know that they can't work that day. So you plan around that. So if someone can't do X day or the bar can only do this day or that day, it narrows things down so you can really eliminate through via process of elimination. You can see what you have at your disposal and plan it out that way. Yes? Capiche? Yes? Okay, cool. We're in pre-production. Should you have everyone do a 9 to 5? No, those are rookie hours. 12-hour days, always. A half day is 6 hours. Full day, 12 hours, half day, 6 hours. So for Rideshare, for example, all of these scenes took place at night. So when it was darker earlier, we had it so we started at 6 p.m., ended at 6 a.m. Have a 12-hour window. Whether you're doing a normal day shoot, you can have 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., whatever it is, have a 12-hour window, have breaks in between, have, big breaks for lunch or for dinner in between that. You can have a set schedule, but typically every day, don't make everyone do more than 12 hours. They'll already be burnt out enough at the end. You don't want to go over that. A lot of filmmakers underestimate how much time they need, or sometimes initially it takes forever, but then they end up getting in the swing of things typically. So the crew gets better working with each other. So by the end, they're like really working lightning fast. So hopefully that happens with you guys. And initially, if it takes a little bit longer than normal to set up, plan for that initially. So when you're in the pre-production phase, give yourself a little bit more time to allocate for everyone to kind of mesh and gel and whatnot. And also, a lot of the pre-production will still be going on during production. You'll be prepping the next day, and you'll still be doing technically pre-production because you haven't shot those days yet while you're in production. So know that like you can only really plan so much, and the plans will change, things will come up, things happen. Sometimes your location can say, hey, I actually can't do it this day, I can only do this other day, so you have to switch schedules around. These things happen, so you will be constantly in pre-production, even in production. if that makes any sense. So a lot of production will be pre-production, and you'll get to the point where you've dotted all your I's, crossed all your T's. You can only plan so much. Plan and schedule the days like you're a manager at a grocery store. Plan who's available these days, who do you all need on this team, and yeah, plan or shoot out. Okay, so you have your idea, you have your script, you have the money lined up, and now it's time for casting. Casting can be so much fun. Casting can also be a pain in the rear, but ultimately casting is a lot of fun because you're starting to see the characters from your movie come to life. And there's actually nothing better than that. It's so rewarding and so cool seeing something that you wrote or that you read, or you're so hyped about these characters. Now you get to see them on camera and on screen. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks of casting that will help you save a lot of time and help you get the actor that you need, the actor or actress. Now, obviously, if you're working with kind of limited budgets, you might not have the millions of dollars to hire Meryl Streep or Brad Pitt or Denzel Washington. But you might be able to get someone that has been in a TV movie, or someone that is a popular YouTuber that hasn't acted in a feature film before. They might have millions of followers and they're able to act well, but they're relatively unknown, at least in the TV or movie realm. So there's plenty of casting websites out there. One of my favorite casting websites is castingnetworks.com. If you're a producer and filmmaker, it is free. They have a lot of cool resources for a casting director or filmmakers at your disposal, and they have a huge wide net of actors and talent that can apply to your film. The beauty of it is that you can write a full-on description of your character, attach sides. You can have them submit an audition with your sides already before you even start the audition process. So they can audition for you without doing this whole crazy, huge formal audition. The days of getting hundreds of actors line up in a cattle call, those days are pretty much over. Maybe in network TV and films, they're still doing that. But as a casting director, do you really want to sit there and go through 300 people every day, so you only get like a minute of your time with them? They recite Shakespeare in front of you. They're terrible, and you're wasting their time. You're wasting your time, and you have to sift through 300 people, or even if you get 5 minutes with every single one of them, you're not going to be able to get to all of them in one day. It's completely tiring. It's completely exhausting, and you'll know that they're not even right for the character when they even walk in the door. So how do you sift through the talent? Some are very talented, some not so much. It's like American Idol, right? Do you want to be in a city and have thousands and thousands of people you're sitting there, and 90% of them, you wouldn't even think about them in your script ever, and you're just completely wasting your time? Unless you have the American Idol budget, unless you have all the time in the world to go through thousands of people that are going to go through, you sift through them, and you can save a lot of time, effort, and energy to casting. Because actually, believe it or not, casting takes a lot of time and energy, regardless, even with these methods that I'm going to teach you and show you that will help you save a lot of time, effort, and energy, and sift through the right actor for your project. And just because they're a great actor doesn't necessarily mean that they're right for your project. I'll get to that in a little bit. So first off, what do you want to do? You narrow it down by having actors submit that have a reel. If an actor does not have a reel, I do not give them the time of day. I'm sorry. If you're an actor and you don't even have one sample of your acting, I will not cast you, because I know that you're not serious. If you don't have a headshot, and you don't need a fancy, crazy headshot that costs $3,000, you really don't. Even if it's an iPhone selfie photo, I have to at least know what you look like. If they don't have a headshot, I don't even consider them. If they don't have a reel, I do not consider them. So that sifts a lot of actors that will submit to your roles. A lot of them have a headshot, but they don't have a reel. This would be a tip for actors. At least have a headshot. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but you need to have a headshot so casting directors and filmmakers know what you look like. And if you're on the other end of the spectrum, you can look as a filmmaker or as a casting director. A lot of times, if you're a writer-director, you are the casting director. You don't necessarily have the luxury to pay a casting director to do all this stuff. So if you are the casting director, you can at least look, oh, does this look like the character that I have in mind? And then, yes, cool. Do they have a reel? Great. Casting Network sets it up really easily, so if they have a link attached to their work, and again, it does not have to be this crazy fancy reel. If you're looking for someone that is in the latest Star Wars, good luck finding that person. You probably can't afford them. But if you can, all the power to you and everything. Chances are you're going to be sifting through some crappily shot monologue stuff that's shot on their cell phone, which is fine. All you need to know is whether or not they can act. If you're looking at their stuff, even if it's the most amateur Mickey Mouse production that it looks like they're in, you can still tell whether they can act or not. And from that, I don't care if they're in a crappy production that has horrible sound, terrible lighting, and so on and so forth. That doesn't matter, because your movie is not going to have all those crappy things. Your movie is going to have good things, but it's going to look good. But all you need to know is whether or not they can act. So all it takes is a minute of looking at their acting reel or a part of their reel, and you could tell right away, oh, they can act, or oh no, they cannot act, we're the crap. Typically, if they're in a really high production quality thing, they're pretty good. They come hand in hand. But just because they're in a crappy production with terrible quality does not mean that they're a bad actor. They just might not have had the shot, and you are the one that is going to give them the shot. So from there, click check mark on each of the actors that you want to keep. That will narrow it down from there. So let's say you get your top 10 actors, then schedule out your audition. The beauty about living in the 21st century and in a time where Zoom is a thing, Google Meet is a thing, you video, you don't have to leave the comfort of your own house or your office. You could have a co-producer if you have someone right there with you, and then you could have them audition via Zoom. I always recommend do a Zoom audition first before meeting them, because you can go through this whole song and dance of meeting them and then have them act, and then they're terrible and you're wasting everyone's time. The beauty about Zoom calls or Google Meets or whatever, they have the record option. So ask, hey, is it okay if I record this audition? And 9.999 times out of 10, they'll say, oh yeah, sure. So then you can actually record that audition. And then if you have another casting director or friend or other filmmaker friend that you want to show it to, say, hey, do you think this is a good actor? That's what I did with Simp. I sent audition tapes to other filmmaker friends and got their feedback. So that's a great way. And another beauty about having and living in the 21st century. You don't necessarily need all the fancy equipment or even need to bring a camera on an audition when you're doing it via Zoom or online. The first initial thing should be a Zoom call. So if you are scheduling out, let's say you have 10 auditions, say, hey, Casting Networks has this out so you can have them schedule out their time. So let's say I'm scheduling auditions from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Each audition lasts about 10 to 15 minutes. Let's say 10-minute long blocks. So say you have 1 p.m., 1:10 p.m., 1:20 p.m., you get the picture. Schedule your auditions, have a time block where you're doing all the auditions at once, and then feel them out. So have them act out your script, talk to them for a bit, get to know them a little bit, and you can kind of suss them out. So from there, narrow it down from the top 10 people, say like, unless one person stands out completely, you don't always want to rely on that one person. Maybe have like a couple, 3, just in case the person can't make your shoot date. Have at least like the top 3. So let's say you're honestly probably going to be sifting through hundreds at first, but dial it down to really, I would like to say top 10 that are like the 10 best, and then from there, like your top 3. Then schedule in-person auditions. Now, this is something that I learned with my last project, and I recommend this from all filmmakers, where I casted a person via Zoom without actually meeting them. Before that, with my movie Rideshare, I had met all the actors before. A lot of them were actor friends of mine that I had either previously worked with at the company that I worked with before, or they were friends that I had already known that just happened to know how to act. So I already knew them and I had met them and I knew that they were all cool to work with. I made a mistake of casting someone via Zoom, telling them they got the part, we're there on set, and I had a situation where they threatened to leave set. And had I had known how they actually were in person after meeting them a little bit, I would not have casted them. I would have casted someone else. It all ended up working out, but it could have gone south. So I highly recommend, after you have your top choice, actually say top 3 choices, meet them in person. 10 out of 10, I would rather get the person that might not be as good as your number 1 choice. Let's say your number 1 choice is a great actor, but they're an absolute jerk in real life, or they're snappy at you, or they're giving you crap for no reason type thing, or they're not cool, they're not kosher, they're really overly demanding. It's not worth it. Even if they're great actors, the amount of headaches you're going to have on set dealing with them day in, day out for 10 days minimum, 21 days, however many days their shoot is. What would you rather have? Someone that has a great attitude that is still a really good actor, or someone that's a great actor that has a crappy attitude that's going to spoil the whole bunch, spoil your cast, the rest of the crew? You do not want those types of people. So bottom line is, I'll get off my soapbox, filter out the cast first digitally, then meet them in person in pre-production, suss them out, and from that top 3, then offer them the role. What you also want to do is be completely upfront about the scenes in their movie. If they have a love scene, be completely upfront. Do you show nudity? Yes or no? If yes, go into detail of what it is. Is it topless? Is it, full-on naked scene? Like, you have to be completely upfront. In this day and age, you do not want to pull the wool over their eyes, or you don't want to say, oh yeah, it's like some kissing, but nothing more than they show up on set like, hey, again, naked. Do not do that, guys. Do not do that. Let's be better than that. Do not do that. So you have to be, you can have nudity if you want, and this is almost a whole topic for another video, but you can get the gist of it. If you have certain sexual situations, or if you have action scenes, or if you have something where they have to get hit, are you okay with doing your own stunts? Do you need a stunt person? That type of thing. You have to be completely crystal clear about the character, the situations that they're in. Also running, or if they're doing anything physical, it doesn't have to be sexual, okay? If they're doing anything physical, can you run like Tom Cruise? Are you able to do that? Heaven forbid you cast a lead actor who's perfect, but you need him to run, and then he has asthma and he can't run longer than 2 seconds. So you want to be able to actually be very clear about what you need from the character, what they need on set, what they're capable of doing, and what they're comfortable with. And if they're not comfortable with any parts of those things, either 1, rearrange your script in order to make it so they are comfortable, or 2, coach them and do it in a way that's respectful for them. And you could rewrite scenes where maybe you don't show nudity, maybe it's more implied nudity type thing. There's ways around doing it. Like I had, so for Simp, for example, the lead actress, there calls for a nipple shot, and the lead actress needs to show a nipple. And, I asked if they were comfortable with that, and they said no. And I was like, well, are you comfortable with wearing pasties? And then they said yes. And then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, are there pasties that look like nipples? Sure enough, Amazon is a real thing. And this is such a wacky story, I know, okay? But Amazon's a real thing, and they have pasties that look like nipples. So it was a win-win. So it looked like a nipple, but it wasn't her actual nipple. And you have this scene in Simp where you're showing a nipple, but it's not a real nipple. Okay, so it's a win-win. If it was a guy, you need to show their bare ass. They have stunt asses. Maybe you can get a stunt man to have. It gets kind of weird, and crazy. But be upfront. Bottom line is, be upfront. Whether you have a guy that has to moon a character as a prank, and then heaven forbid that the actor's like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't feel comfortable with that. You have to work around the script. And if it has to be done, it has to be in your script. You have to have this character mooning the camp counselor or whatever it is in your script. You have to be upfront with the actor, with the characters, and be open about it. Don't show up to set, be like, hey, put your pants down, show your ass to these people. Like, no, don't do that. Do not do that. You want to not do that. Bottom line is, for every character, have the description. Don't be sneaky with it. Don't be, be completely upfront, because if you get a no right away, it's better, because then you could find someone else who is comfortable with it, and so on and so forth. Always have your actors sign a release. I have a sample release form for you that should cover your bases. Now, of course, I'm not a lawyer at all, so for any legal advice, if you have a lawyer, get a contract from them. But here's a sample contract just to give you guys an idea of what a contract looks like. If you haven't worked with it before, if you haven't had an actor sign a release form before, I definitely highly recommend you have them sign a release. You can also get verbal releases as well. You can have them literally say, hi, my name's Tremain. Hey ho, I consent to have my image in this movie. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so check with your lawyer before. This isn't legal advice. Bottom line is, you need some type of paperwork or video consent that they agree to be in your movie, because heaven forbid you finish your film, you have a lead actor that's in it, for whatever reason they don't like how they look, they think they look too goofy, they don't want other people to think that they're a goofball, and then they ask you to pull their character from the movie. And that stuff like that happens, and filmmakers get stuck because they didn't get the permission, or they didn't get the actual physical release form. And even if the actor liked it at the time, and then all of a sudden they get self-conscious about the project later on, you do not want that type of thing happening. Consult with a lawyer beforehand, have actual contracts with your cast and with your crew. Remind them they're playing a character. I was casting this character called Anna in Rideshare, and Anna is, for lack of a better term, a bitch, right? A complete bitch. And that's her character. She's a complete bitch. And she gets triggered from the dumbest things, and it's based off of a true, real girl that is a real bitch. And anyway, that was the hardest role for me to cast in Rideshare. Why? Because I had a lot of actresses that replied with, oh, it seems like a fun character, but I don't want people to think that I'm a bitch. Which reminds me of an Alfred Hitchcock quote. Alfred Hitchcock once said, people say that I said actors are like cattle. I wouldn't dream of calling the actors cattle. What I really said was, actors should be treated like cattle. I'm joking. I'm joking. Anyway, the person that we did get for the role of Anna, Madeline Wade, who was in The Wolf of Wall Street. She's in a lot of different movies. She's awesome. She's an amazing actress. She's also one of the executive producers of the movie. She is so cool. She loved being the bitch, right? I've played a bad guy in movies. There isn't many things more fun than being the bad guy in a movie. It's fun. Being an asshole, being a bitch, being a jerk. If you're not actually a jerk, that's the point of acting, okay? You're acting. So act like it. And remind your actors, you're acting. This isn't you. You're playing a role. Sometimes you have to reassure them. We'll get more into that later, into directing on the production end. Facebook groups, you can always say, hey, putting a casting call, say, hey, send me an email, and you can schedule auditions that way. A couple other resources, there's Backstage Casting. I personally don't have much experience with that, but I've been told that that's a good resource. Craigslist, as dodgy as that sounds, you can find some diamonds in the rough. I found some diamonds in the rough via Craigslist even. I know it sounds really dodgy, but if you put on a professional casting call and you have them send in a reel and headshots and whatnot, and you call them prior and you meet them, and you don't have to meet them first digitally. Do not meet them at your house, okay? Don't have weird actors from Craigslist come over. That's a bit dodgy. So what you want to do is you meet them digitally first, have them do the audition, and then when you meet, meet at your office. If you don't have an office, meet at Starbucks. Think of a place, a public place that you can meet them for the first time, and then kind of suss them out a little bit. I think a coffee shop is kind of a perfect setting, a Starbucks or a local coffee shop. If you can't find your actor, ask around, or typically there's some type of theater group nearby in your town You know, you never know. You might know someone that wants to act in a movie, have them try out. You really never know. There's a lot of actors that want to be in a movie, so you should have no problem finding your lead actors or any of your supporting actors and so on and so forth. So you always have options. Be completely clear about the role and have fun with it. All right, how do you find a good crew? If you are a filmmaker or you want to be a filmmaker, chances are you might have a friend or two that is a cinematographer. You might have a friend that has a nice camera that hasn't been given the opportunity to make a movie yet, who gets really great images and just wants to be given that shot. You can ask them, hey, would you want to be the cinematographer for this movie? And chances are, if they're available, they will say yes. A great way to keep costs down as well is if you have a good friend who's professional, they have a camera, and say, hey, this is your rate. Or if you're pulling favors, say, hey, I won't be able to pay you, but we're going to do X amount of days. Can you do it? You work around their schedule type thing. That's a great way. If you don't have any good friends that have a camera, that's also fine as well. You basically can look at reels, cinematographer reels, just like you would look at an actor's reel. Maybe it's opposite. You know, I've seen cinematographer reels where the acting is completely atrocious, but you're not looking at the acting in this case. You're looking at the shots. The cinematographers that I like to hire are ones that are good at what they do, but they're not overly pretentious. I'm sorry, cinematographers that are out there. There are some that are very, very pretentious, and they will take 3 hours to set up one shot because it has to be completely crazy, perfect, and all this stuff. You want to be able to find a director of photography that can work relatively fast, enough to get their shot set up, the lights set up, and get the image to look good, but they aren't dilly-dallying. You could refine all shots till the cows come home. You could always change the lighting. You could always make it look better. And chances are, if you're giving them all the time in the world to set up a shot, they will take all the time in the world to set up a shot. So not that you want to just say, hey, you've got 2 minutes, set up a shot, make it look beautiful. No, you want to give them an actual realistic time frame, and you want to give them enough breathing space to actually work and get their image right. Just exactly like you would do with the cast, do with the crew. If you haven't met him before, set up a Zoom call. Ask him what he feels about movies. Talk shop with him. Talk about his favorite movies. Talk about the look for your film. You know, do you want your film to look like Blade Runner 2049? You know, do you want your movie to look like Who Killed Roger Rabbit? I don't know why I just said that movie. Do you want your movie to look like Sin City? It'd be black and white and have a lot of visual effects. Because a lot of cinematographers, if they haven't worked with visual effects before and you want to shoot this high, intense visual effect film, they might not be a best fit, even if they have an impressive reel. You will want someone that has shot a lot of green screen stuff, a lot of visual effects, over someone that is better at practical. Again, it really uses common sense. Ask yourself a couple questions in their reel. 1, does this shot look like a movie? Even if it's low budget, does this look like a movie? If it looks like someone's cell phone camera, or if it looks like a Mickey Mouse operation, then do not hire them. So simple. And if you don't know what a movie looks like, put on a movie, one that you want to mimic. If you have a horror movie on, put on a horror movie, and then try to compare if they've shot anything like that as a cinematographer. Maybe they haven't, but they want to do that as a challenge. Talk to them. Say, hey, do you think you could do this? And you could do test shoots with them. Again, you can do test shoots till the cows come home. Cinematographers can tell you, oh yeah, I could do this, I could do that. And then when push comes to shove on set, they're completely incapable, or they're trying to do it in 5 hours, or they're pissed off all the time, which goes back to meeting them, sussing them out. Do you get along with them? Are you guys on the same page with stuff? A lot of times the director of photography is going to be the grumpiest person on set. Why? It's because they're going to have to be moving a lot of the equipment a lot of times, or everyone's asking them, well, when are we ready to shoot? When are we ready to shoot? And they're like, hey guys, I have to get the freaking shot to look good first. You know, so for good reason, they get kind of pissed off. But a lot of DPs are really chill. They're like, oh yeah, I could do this. You know, manage expectations. They can get your shot to look great. They know the camera settings. Again, this isn't a course where you're learning all the camera settings. Why? Because you find the person that knows the camera settings. If they have the camera, they'll typically know the settings of their camera. They'll want to push their camera to the limits. They'll want to make a movie. They'll want to shoot a movie. So you don't have to be the cinematographer. Remember, you're the producer. If you want to be the cinematographer and you know everything there is about cinematography, then great, even better. Then you're learning the practical steps to actually execute and make your feature film. Filmmaking is a collaborative process. And even if you know how to do all of the jobs, doesn't matter, because you will need other people to help you out to make your film. And you can't do everything. And actually, the project will suffer if you try to do anything. Me personally, I've been a production assistant, production coordinator, a DIT, a cinematographer, a sound person, a boom mic operator. I can do any and every one of those jobs. Can I do every single one of those on set? No, hell no, and nor would I want to. I do not want to do any of those. I could do any one of those, but if you're trying to be this one-man band, good luck. Your movie will suffer, you will suffer, your actors will be pissed at you because you're trying to do everything yourself. That is not the way. Sound person. Guys, sound is half your movie. Say that again. Sound is half of my movie. Half. 50%. A lot of filmmakers spend so much time trying to find the best cinematographer, someone that can get the best image possible. And then what do? They neglect sound. They'll just get any random person off Craigslist to be the sound guy. No, do not do that. Get someone who knows what they're doing, that has experience getting professional and clean sound. Just like the cinematographer, have the sound mixer send you a reel. A lot of sound mixers have really professional reels, and it's like they have TV quality lav mics. They've got great quality dialogue and everything. Those are the people that you want. If they're sending you a reel and it sounds like they're in an echo chamber, if there's a ton of white noise in the background, or if they didn't even do anything to the sound, it's all the recorded audio from the camera, do not hire them. Do they have the right equipment? Ask them what equipment they have. If you don't know what the hell equipment that they have, Google it or have them explain it to you. Typically, you want to be able to do two things to get great sound. One, have a lavalier mic. This is a lavalier mic. And then two, have a boom mic ahead of them, above them as backup. So for a sound mixer, you typically have a sound mixer, person that's holding the recording device, and then a boom operator. A lot of times, they're the same person. And if you're working and balling on a budget, completely understand. That is totally okay. But make sure that they know what they're doing when it comes to putting the lavalier microphone on the actors. And if they hear rustles and stuff like that, they tell you that they hear them. Or if there's a crazy plane going by and you don't necessarily notice or hear the plane because you're so focused on the story and the acting, you need to have a sound person that will be getting quality sound on set and can capture that on set. So cinematography and sound person, they're the two key players in your movie. They're going to make it look good. They're going to make it sound good, which brings it to the third person. Actually, the third person is just as important as the first two, honestly, and that is a production assistant. Yes, PAs get crapped on. PAs are sometimes treated like dirt because they're the lowest on the totem pole. Guess what? PAs work 10 times harder than the production coordinator. Am I right? No, I'm kidding, but they can be. They can be the hardest working people on set. And you want someone who's a PA that is a hustler, someone that you could send them out to the grocery store with 10 different random items, and they will get those 10 items exactly. If something's out, they will call you, or they'll call the producer. They'll say, hey, they're out of this. What else can we get? Someone that is a problem solver, someone that you can send on runs, someone that you can send to get food and come back. They are crucial on set. So you want to have an eager beaver type. They don't necessarily have to have the experience of being on set at all, but they have to be able to think on their feet, solve problems. Yeah, that's how to get a really good production assistant. I PA'd for the longest time. I solved problems. I was the rock star PA. I made everyone's life so much easier. And as a PA, you learn and see all different departments, and you learn what else other people need. And the PA is kind of the front man. They're oh my gosh, we completely forgot this gear at the last location. PA, can you go send it? Yes. You don't want to send your director out on a run and lose him for 2 hours. Send the PA to go do that. Do they have reliable transportation? You don't want to get a PA with a broken down car. They have to have reliable transportation. If you ask them to get $50 worth of food and they come back and they give you a receipt for $150, fire them on the spot. I'm not even kidding you. I'm sorry, I hate to say it. If you're to do that in Hollywood, if you're going to do that on set, on a big budget set, you go 3 times over the budget, you come back, you never called, you never asked for permission, you just show up. Hell, hey, I just spent 3 times the budget that you told me to. You will get fired on the spot, and you should not treat that any differently. Hey, if it's someone that's volunteering on set, say, hey, I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much. We're not made of money. This isn't a Marvel movie. $100 can go a long way. Just find someone else. We're going to talk about attitude of crew members. 9.999 times out of 10, I would rather have someone that might be a little bit less talented crew member, but is very enthusiastic, is pleasant to be around, and is in a good mood, and is a problem solver. 9.999 times out of 10, than a super talented crew member that is miserable to work with. Attitude is everything, especially on set. And rotten apples do spoil the whole bunch. So if one person is in a crappy mood, if the director of photography is like in this horrible mood, they're on their phone all the time, to change shots or to do anything is just this huge long drag, you're going to be in hell. What you want is a crew member that is like, oh yeah, I could do that. Yeah, no problem. Let's do this. I'm not saying that they have to be a yes man. So like, okay, we do this. We can't necessarily do that, but let's think of a solution here. They want to be there. They're not someone that you have to convince to be there. You want to have someone that is happy to be there, happy to solve problems, is good at what they do. They don't have to be this crazy master at it, but a great attitude goes a long way. Do you really want to have 100 crew members on set making noise, texting, calling people, laughing, joking around, being in the background? No, you really don't. You need a cinematographer, a sound person, a production assistant, makeup,
and of course, a director and producer. That is your bare bones key crew. These are the most vital assets that you will be working with on set. And if you hire right, your project will be a success. Up next, we will be learning how to location scout.
And it's all about location, 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 baby. If you took my advice while you're writing your script, you probably already have the locations of your script in mind, or you have easy access to these locations. Now, if you don't have the locations yet and you need to get the locations, if you need permission, which you do, so let's say you're getting a bar, go to the bar, ask for the owner, or call the bar and ask for the owner and talk to the owner. I think it's personally best to actually go in there. And if they're a small dive bar type thing, chances are the owner is somewhere around. Introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm Tremain. Hey-ho. I'm a filmmaker. I'm making this movie. I have a scene in this bar. I was wondering if I could use your bar to film. They'll either do 3 things. They'll say yes, they'll be stoked about it. No way in hell. They'll throw you out of the bar. Or 3, they're kind of hesitant. They need to know more about it. So that's fine too. So they'll ask you, hey, what does the scene entail? Say, oh, well, it's 2 people at a bar. They're talking about old days, reminiscing. Okay, like, oh, okay. So how long do you need? You plan out based on the amount of scenes you have, the amount of pages in your script, how many hours you need on set, and what you need to do that day. So go through your script and go through every single location that you need and lock it down. If it's, heaven forbid, a bar fight scene where they're going to be breaking stuff, make sure that you will be providing all the stuff that will be broken and that you'll clean up and you'll do all that stuff. If it's a business, typically you will be filming during off business hours. And then also get a location release. Definitely have them sign, because heaven forbid anything bad happens, you're covered. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Go through details and logistics with them. Be respectful for all locations. If you show up there, make a mess, and you're taking forever, you will give them a very sour taste in their mouth. And chances are, if any other filmmaker comes by, they'll say no to the future filmmaker. So you're messing it up for everyone else. So don't do that. Be good. Be clear with what you need. Show up on time. A lot of pre-production is really just locations and logistics. So locations, where are you going to be? Where do you need to film? So let's say you have 3 different locations that are very close to each other. Obviously, schedule them close to each other. Don't try to schedule one part of town for beginning of the day and say, oh yeah, well, second half of the day we need to film the other scene, and have it be way out in Timbuktu. It's common sense, but you'd be surprised what producers are going to say, oh yeah, we'll just film half the day at one location and the other half the other. 6 hours per location, which is not true. You'll be spending a lot of the time, 1, packing up, and 2, traveling. So if you're going to be packing up and traveling, that should be close proximity distances from each other. So if you say, hey, we have a hiking trail scene, right, and it just so happens to be close to the bar, if it happens to be close to the bar, then have the bar scene, and then afterwards you film your hike scene, or vice versa. Also, working around the actor's schedule, of course. Work around their schedule first. Doesn't make any sense to schedule the bar for Tuesday if the actor that's going to be in the bar can't film that day, Tuesday, right? So you're literally like a scheduling manager is what you become. That can be a production coordinator's job or someone else that you're partnered with's job. But if it's your job, just schedule it out per day. What characters do you need for what day, for what scene, and what location, and then film out those days. Plan out your shoot day. Rideshare, for example, was 16 days, as I mentioned before. Simp was scheduled to be 10 days. Actually, we did such a good job, it ended up being 9 days in production. We got everything done, wrapped on time, every single day. And we did so well, shot so much, we wrapped a day early. That is completely unheard of in Hollywood. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we had several different locations, some that were hours apart. But I scheduled it in a way that was logistically friendly, so we're not wasting a lot of time. You don't want to waste all your time traveling. And if you do spend time traveling, make sure that whatever location that you go to, you're going to be spending a lot of time there. So you're not traveling an hour and a half to be at a place for 2 seconds and then drive all the way back. That makes no sense. Think about it logistically, and you could have different locations, but have it be different proximities. For example, during Simp, we have the cabin, right? So you have interior of the cabin, you have exterior of the cabin, you have the front of the cabin, you got the back of the cabin, you got the Christmas tree area in the back. They're all really relatively close to each other. They have the teepee scene with the onion. That's all another scene. So we shot several different scenes in several different locations. It's all technically one location, but it's giving your script in your movie enough variety where you feel like you're moving around a lot, even if you're not really moving very far at all. Things will go wrong. A production assistant might run into an issue. They come out and they announce the whole set. Oh, I can't believe XYZ ABC terrible thing is happening. Or a production coordinator. Oh, we just lost this location tomorrow. And they're just announcing it to the rest of the crew. No, do not let them say that. Be close to your crew. Especially you want to separate crew and talent as well, because if the talent thinks that the crew are idiots, they're going to lose respect for you. They're not going to work as hard for you, and your movie will not be the product that it needs to be. Explain to your crew right before your production day and all production days, hey guys, if there's a problem, if there's a big problem, just pull me aside. Let's talk to me first, and then let's try to figure it out. The best way to do it is to solve the problems behind closed doors and make it so that you can come up with a solution in a way that no one even knows there was even a problem to begin with. That's the best way to handle any problems on set, because let's face it, being on set, you will be putting out fires, you will be solving problems, things will go wrong, people will be late, an actor is going to be an hour and a half late or 2 hours late, they got lost, they lost their phone, they lost whatever it is. You have to be able to solve these problems and keep going. You know, every problem is solvable. Okay, just keep that within reason, unless an asteroid's about to come in and demolish your whole planet. Any and every problem is solvable. I remember when I was filming Rideshare, it was about midnight. We shot at nights. And the next day, we were filming our biggest shoot day, 16-page day. One of the other bad guys in the movie, a character named Troy, I had already had casted. I had had him casted for 4 months. This person was on board, signed contracts and everything. And then the night before, he goes, hey, man, there's some dialogue I'm not comfortable with. And then I sent him a message like, oh, which dialogue, which lines aren't you comfortable with? And then he wouldn't give me any answers. And he goes, sorry, dude, I'm not going to be able to make it. Talk to my agent for further communication. And I'm like, what? I was so pissed. I was so livid. We were in the middle of filming a cop scene, so we had a cop car. One of the big shoot days that we had. I mean, every day is a big shoot day, but we had rented this car. We had the cop actors there, and I'm off aside, like on the phone. I called the co-producer, say, hey, this just happened. Can you start looking for another actor? keep in mind it's midnight. We need them the next day. So, call time, I think call time is, we were filming 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'm like, hey, put the feelers out. I was pissed. I wanted to throw rocks. Yeah, I don't know. I was so mad. I wanted to scream. But I didn't have time to really get upset. I had to go back, dial it in to the scene that we were filming, finish out filming. And then in the morning, we had another actor. It was a friends of a friend type thing. And he came on to set 4 hours early so we could do some dress rehearsal and get him practice out. But like that, we solved the problem. And this actor ended up being 10 times better than what the other guy could have been. And then I ended up hearing that actor that I had originally cast is renowned for flaking out on sets. So we really dodged a bullet, and it became a blessing in disguise. So another lesson, everything happens for a reason. It's so cheesy. It is so cheesy. It is so corny, but everything happens for a reason. And in a better way of putting that, things will work out better than planned if you keep going and don't let it get you down. I could have easily been like, screw this, screw that guy. We're not even going to shoot tomorrow. Let's take 3 days and reschedule everything. We had a boat booked that we couldn't get the money back for. We had put in the deposit. We weren't going to get the deposit back. We're working on shoestring budgets here. There was no going back. There was only those scenes from that character on that thing for that one night. There was no other choice. So I think also having that option to not have an option to change or to go back made it so we just had to power through. So just no matter what, the show must go on. Bad things might happen. Some unfortunate events might occur, some unfortunate events might occur, but you just have to keep powering forward and powering through. Okay, so you are excited and stoked and anxious and nervous, and mainly excited but mainly nervous to be on the first day, day one of your new movie. Oh my gosh, you made it here. How do I describe this first day feeling? It's mainly excitement. I'm always excited to finally be on set. After all the pre-production, all the planning and everything, you are there and on set, ready to make your movie. What you have to understand, if you're the director and or producer, you will be inundated with questions all the time, every day, all day. You will not be able to go anywhere or do anything or take a 5-minute break without someone coming up to you and asking you a question. Now, you want to have answers to these questions, or you want to have enough information about what you're doing that day in order to give your cast, your crew, a valid answer. If you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, if you're worried, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, you're going to make everyone else stressed, everyone else anxious, and people are going to be asking you questions. And if you don't really know the answer to that question, they're going to be like, okay, does this guy even know what he's doing? Even if you don't know what you're doing, which you probably don't, but this is what I'm here for. Don't worry, that's perfectly natural, totally normal. Act like you know. You have to be able to be decisive. I have not met a indecisive, successful producer and director. I know some directors that are pretty indecisive and it takes them forever to make a decision. You have to hone your decision-making skills because time is money, especially when you're on set. In post-production, you could take a lot longer. Pre-production, you could take long planning and stuff up until the days where you have the cast, the crew, people have flown in from Timbuktu to be there. You do not have the luxury to dilly-dally, dick around, mess around. In my movie Simp, the first thing we did was we did the poster shoot. It was simple. I already had the idea of the poster in my mind. It was the girl, the lead character, Jessica, basically looking like she's passed out on the floor. That was the first thing that we shot. It was kind of a morale booster, and we got it. We got everyone involved. It was something that was relatively easy and quick to do. So we did that, and we were so pumped about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, this movie is going to work. And we went in to the first scene that we were filming. That's kind of a cool way to ease in on the film, shoot something simple, something you know that you can knock out. I'm getting a call. Steven Spielberg? Sorry, I'm filming right now. Come on. I haven't gotten a call all day. I start filming. Within 5 minutes of filming, I get a call. Okay. Oh, I just got a message from someone else. That's just kind of Murphy's Law. Do not disturb. Make sure everyone's phones is on do not disturb. Wow, what a nice reminder here. So tell everyone do not disturb or have their phones on silent. Yes, if people have to communicate to the outside world or within people of the cast and crew, that's fine. But do not have them with their ringers on. Heaven forbid you have an actor giving a groundbreaking performance and then your DP's phone goes off or the PA's phone goes off and it's really annoying, or that really loud iPhone ding that drives me personally crazy from a text message goes off. Like you do not want that to happen. So very simple things. Make sure everyone's phone is on silent, or else you're going to drive your sound guy crazy. Your sound guy's going to be pissed. He's going to be mad at you, and so on and so forth. Have your script in front of you. I typically have a binder. Actually, I will grab it. This was my binder for Simp. This was it. So I got this binder for like $3 at Staples, I think. And if you look at it, like, you see this? So you got the got this script. We got some X's crossed off. So you go through all of it, and that's just me knocking out, showing you knocking out what we shot. So basically you go through it, and if you have a script at the end of the day where you have all these X's over it, you knock it out. And once you start Xing off scenes that you've done, it starts to feel good, and it feels a lot less intimidating. What you'll do is you'll get into a flow, you'll get into a rhythm, and your cast and your crew will start to gel, and you'll start to feel each other out and everything, and it becomes really exciting. Basically, you can go for an hour, take a mini break, maybe take 5. Don't go 2 hours without a break. You don't want to be a slave driver. You don't want your cast and crew resenting you. You don't want to get too mad at everyone, but make sure everyone is quiet on set. There's nothing more annoying than a person that's unprofessional. They're talking, they're laughing, they're joking around in the backdrop of the set, or they're sitting around on their phones. The director of photography is like on his phone when he should be looking at the dang shot of what he's filming. So make sure everyone's dialed in with that. For me, I'm always like less is more on set. If you have a bunch of production assistants, they don't need to be in the same room that you're filming. They could be outside, they could be out doing whatever, send them away. A lot of actors don't like a ton of eyeballs just staring at them. A lot of times it's in the nature of the beast. And yeah, maybe a lot of them are used to having a bunch of eyeballs. But if it's a small, intimate scene, or if it's like a love scene, you like use some common sense and make sure that you have a locked off set. Just enough crew to get the picture of the sound. You don't need to have everyone there, all eyes on set. When it comes to Video Village, what you'll do is you'll do a take. Some actors will be like, oh, can I see that shot? Can I see that take? No, don't let them do it. I mean, if you really want to delay your film, you can stop the crew, have them come back, huddle around Video Village, press play, watch the whole freaking take from start to finish. That gets old real quick. That takes a lot of time, effort, energy. Definitely check shots, make sure that there's no boom mic shadow in the shots, make sure there's no scripts in the shots or water bottles and stuff like that. So if you have an assistant director, if you have a script supervisor, which congratulations, you have the luxury of having a script supervisor on set, way to go, then it's their job to make sure things are maintaining consistency. Most of the time, chances are, if you're any type of film, you're going to film out of order. You're going to film scene 12 before you film scene 1. That's just the nature of the beast based on your schedule. So keep track of those types of things. Some of the best directors that I know are very detail oriented. They will notice, oh no, your watch was on the other hand, yesterday. Why is it now on your right hand? Stuff like that, where, the more you look at it, like other times you'll have these random people be like, they'll be like, oh, is that mop behind the camera in the shot? And you'll be like, no, it's behind the camera. It's not close to the camera. You'll have some idiots putting in their 2 cents, and say, oh, thank you. Keep your opinion to yourself. A lot of times, too, What you want to do is you are the master of your set here. If you let it go crazy, if you let people laugh and joke around and be silly on set, you got to hone it back in, because you got to make sure that you're dialed in. You're here to make a movie. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, maybe you're shooting a party scene and some people are drinking, getting silly, but you want to be responsible for your shoot. You're responsible for your shoot. You have all this, you spent all this time, effort, energy, and money being there. There's only so much you can mess around. I mean, wait to dick around after, you know what I mean? After you wrap that day, then you can get silly, be loud, laugh and joke around and stuff like that. But when you're here for the craft, you're here to work. You will have the sound person, you will have the camera, and you will have assistant director, you will have a slate. So you'll have your slate ready. You'll say sound speeding, say camera speeds, slate, bring in the slate, scene 1, take 1, marker. You want to slate your work. A lot of first-time filmmakers don't want to slate anything. There's a reason why slates exist. If you have the slate, the editor or the assistant editor can keep track of the scenes and the takes, and it makes your post-production life all that easier, all that simpler. You can also break down your notes, which take you like the best. As a director, you could say, oh, I like take 3 over take 5. You could say take 3 was your favorite. Have those notes, write those down, because you will not remember. Some directors are like, oh, I'm going to remember. No, you're not. You're not going to remember. When you go to scene 83, F, take 5, you're not going to remember that was the better take or that something happened in between. Definitely take notes. You will thank yourself, and the editor will thank you later when you have a whole bunch of notes from a production. If you're Stanley Kubrick, you'll want to take at least 60 takes per shot, and it's someone walking down the stairs, and you're like, take 61. Taking a lot of takes takes a lot of time. If you're a perfectionist, God bless you, congratulations. But guess what? If you're working, especially with limited time, budget, and patience, you will just annoy the crap out of everyone if you're asking for a million different takes. And to be honest, take 2 isn't going to be much different from take 32. Just from my experience, there could be little details that are slightly different, but at the same time, you have to be able to cut it off and move on. I believe the most takes I've ever done is probably 12 or 13. And, and that gets to be overkill even at that point. Clint Eastwood says it gets to a point where the director actually doesn't really know what they're doing, or they don't know what they're looking for. Unless the actor is completely missing the mark and you're not explaining to them what they need to be doing or how they need to be performing, you're really going to be wasting a lot of time. And it gets to the point where it could only get to be so good. You want to push them as much as possible to give the best performance. But a lot of times again, even if you do 10 takes, their take 4 won't be that much different than take 8. A big rule that I always implement every single time, roll the first take. Some people say, oh, let's just do a rehearsal first and then let's film. So they'll do, oh yeah, let's just rehearse it. And then they'll do the rehearsal, and the rehearsal will be perfect. The actors will be fresh. They'll be on point. They'll be amazing. And then they're going to be like, oh crap, we should have rolled. Why didn't we roll during the rehearsal? Yes, always roll during rehearsal. Always roll during the rehearsal or the first take. I don't even have a rehearsal. It's just the first take. It's just take 1. If the actors want to say, oh, can we just do a rehearsal real quick? Yes, totally, we could do it. Then say, okay, take 1, scene 1, marker, rolling. Have it all ready and good to go. And if they complain about that, say, oh yeah, no, we'll just shoot it for safety. Just no worries. Film it, because a lot of times the first take is the best take. Actors are fresh. They're reacting. They're acting and reacting naturally. After a bunch of different takes, it becomes too wooden, becomes too planned out. Some of the best actors that I know their lines, but they essentially forget their lines, and then they remember them when the line before them comes up, so they know how to act and react. So they're in the moment and they're actually acting and reacting. And that's how you get a good performance. Always roll rehearsal. Always roll the first take. every single time. Limit your takes. Honestly, I think you should challenge yourself to do 4 or 5 takes per. For Simp, we only had, we did like 3 to 4 takes, I think, on average. So we didn't have that many, there weren't a ton of Stanley Kubrick style takes. Directors have to be direct. If you're giving someone esoteric, pie in the sky directions or being wishy-washy about what you want, you'll get a wishy-washy answer. Like, was that good? No. Let's try it again. You don't want to hurt the actor's feelings. Everyone's sensitive. Some actors are more sensitive than others. Don't go out of your way to hurt their feelings. But at the same time, don't beat around the bush, because if you're timid, if you're trying to be nice, again, you're just wasting time. There's some directors that they're just like, okay, no, oh, that was good. Let's just do another take. And they don't give any notes in between. You got to be able to give notes in between, because then the actor can actually hone their performance and give you what you want and what you're looking for. And if you're not able to communicate what you're looking for, then that's tough news, because as a director, that is your goal. That is your job, to communicate what you need and what you want and what you have. Every actor is different. You can tell them exactly how you want them to say it, and they might hate you for that because they don't want you to tell them how to act, right? Other actors are like, dude, just tell me exactly how you want it and I'll just do it that way. And that becomes easy for me, because I'll just say like, hey, do it like this, and I'll act out what I want them to do or how I want them to do it. And then they'll just replicate it and there'll be money. Other actors will be like, don't tell me how to do that. I'm like, okay, all right. And they'll do it. You just kind of have to coach them and get them there. You also want to make the actors feel comfortable. You don't want to overwork them, especially if it's an emotional scene. Have to bring up tears and emotions, and it's a long dialogue scene. Give some breaks in between. If it's a really important, vital, intense scene, let it breathe, let them go, let them act. After that, then run it back. If they start very wonky, cut it right away, reset it, do it again. I feel like if they start off in the wrong foot, typically the whole take ends up not being any good, and you're just wasting everyone's time. I like to let things roll as well and just redo it, rather than having to stop, reset, slate, reslate, all that. So maybe sometimes there's several takes in one take. So just make sure in your notes that you make that a point for the editor to know that there's several takes in that one take, or else they'll just look at this one part, just think. Honestly, they should know that there's several takes, because when they're going in the editing room, they should be able to see that and see the whole clip play out. But don't leave anything up to chance. Put that in your notes and make sure that that's very clear. Really, what you're doing on set is you're problem solving. What's the problem? The crew is hungry. The crew needs lunch. Make sure lunch is ordered and ready by the time you guys break. The worst thing is if you guys break and there's literally nothing there and you just wasted a whole break. And then 30 minutes later, the food shows up and then you eat. So then now you have this extended break period where you could have had that extra 30 minutes to film, better to power through it, or break early, eat, and then get back into the groove. Once you kind of stop, say take 5, everyone, some people start to just relax and they start chilling, they start joking around, they start checking their phones, they're making calls, they're going everywhere. No, you got to make sure it's a tight 5. Make sure that say, hey, 5 minutes is 5 minutes. It's not 15, it's not 20, it's not 10. It's 5 minutes. Let's go back. Or another thing is say, take 2 minutes. Take two minutes, okay? Just take 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Because you don't need 5 minutes, actually. Because 5 minutes, people get kind of a little bit too relaxed. If it's 2 minutes, like, oh, I only have 2 minutes. But, I'll take a breather. Let me grab a thing of water. Come back. I'm good to go. You want to be able to power through. You want to maximize the time that you have, because it is limited. And sometimes you're racing against the sun. You have so many daylight hours before the sun sets. Or you need a sunset shot. You want to get that shot in golden hour. Golden hour is the last hour before sunset, and right around sunset when, the sky looks beautiful and all that. The other golden hour is in the morning. So it's the opposite when the sun's rising. There's a lot of cool colors in the sky that way too. So a lot of times if you want to have that cool backdrop, you only have that little hour window to play with, or else you have to wait the next day to do it or another day to do it. A lot of times you're racing against the clock, you're racing against the sun, you know, you're racing against, hey, this actor, we only have this day. So we need to get all the things with this actor before they fly back to New York tomorrow. Back in the day, I had a knife sales job. That's a story for another day, but one of the biggest takeaways that I had from that, when you're giving a presentation, it's be quick, but don't hurry. If you're hurrying, then you're frantic, you're like a chicken with your head cut off, you know, and then people sense that impatience, they sense that like rushedness, and they end up being sloppy, and everyone ends up being on edge, and it ends up not being fun. You end up getting really bad content. If you're just being quick, okay, let's be quick. Let's do this. All right, dial in. Let's not waste time. Let's not dilly-dally. You're more laser focused, but you're not rushing. You want to be able to take your time. No, it's okay. It's okay. Let's go back to one. You are the one that says cut. Director says cut. So with sound, you want to let the sound person know, hey, if there's a crazy sound in the background, or if you have microphone issues, let me know immediately, because heaven forbid you're filming an incredible scene, an actor gives a star performance of a lifetime, and then afterwards the audio guy is like, oh, sorry man, the lav dropped out halfway through the scene. And it's like, no, you want to strangle them, but don't strangle them. That would be bad. But tell them, hey, if it happens right away, that sucks, but it's better to stop, reset, fix the sound problem than to have this unusable take and let them go on till the cows come home. Okay, they wasted half the take, better than wasting the whole take and having to reset. A lot of actors, especially if it's a really heavy scene, you know, if it's a heavy scene that takes a lot out of them, you can't just bring it back right away. Some of the best actors, it's hard to just, you know, it's like, okay, be regular. Okay, now cry. Now you're pissed off. Now you want to kill your ex-lover. You know, it takes a lot for them to get back into that mindset. It's like taking the wind out of their sails if after they do this big long take, the sound person's like, oh, my bad. By the way, I wasn't recording. You know, then the wind gets out of their sails. The crew gets out of the sails. They get pissed. They hate, you know, you don't want that to happen. So prevent those fires from happening. Always take breaks in between and offload your footage. Not even a break, but you have someone that is designated to offload your footage. Always have 2 hard drives for your film shoot. That means when you are on set, you have someone with a laptop and with 2 hard drives. They have a setup. They're called DITs, Digital Imaging Technician. Or assistant editors that are on set. They will be on standby, and their job literally is to sit around and wait for footage to get to them. So when one card fills up, they can offload the footage and double back it up. So you basically take the card, put it in the movie folder with the camera and the sound, have it match up, offload it, double back it up, make sure everything is all there. That's their job. Clip 1, is that the first clip? Yes. Last clip, was that the last thing you guys shot? Yes. Sound, does it match up? First clip, was this the first clip of sound? Yes. Was this last clip of sound there? Yes. Match it up, look at it, match it up. Yes, you might have false rolls, false takes that are like 5 seconds long, but make sure you have sound for everything and video for everything, that it all matches up. And also bring it in the order that it is received. So you have that in your notes with the date, the card number for video and for sound. And then keep track of that throughout the day and offload it throughout the day, and make sure at the end of the day, make sure all the footage is there. Horrible worst case scenario if you forget to offload footage, or if the director of photography forgets to give you their SD card by the end of the day, and then they end up formatting the card the next day before you filmed, and you lose all this footage. Do not let that happen. I've seen it happen before, luckily not on any of my sets. Thank God, knock on wood. There has been a time where they forgot to offload footage that day, and then they didn't format, so we just offloaded it in the morning, the next morning. So not a problem, but just keep track of all your footage and make sure you are double backing it up before they format it. Make sure everything's double backed up and that you can compare both hard drives with both cards, the one that's the first backup and the one that's the second backup. Why do you have two backups? Well, because if one hard drive fails, you have a backup of another one. Very simple. Yeah. Okay, so that is production, baby. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and I will answer them gladly. And yeah, that's about it. Next is post-production. Now is where the work begins. You thought I was going to say the fun part happens. No, fun part doesn't happen yet. It's fun to see your footage, but the work really begins in post. All right, guys. See you on the other side. When the director's talking, do not talk over them. I had a film shoot when I was talking. The director of photography would just talk over me and interrupt me. Do not let that happen. You have to hold the reins back for your crew. If you let them talk over you, they will walk all over you. You got to keep them in line, keep them in check. You shouldn't have to explain to some people not to interrupt other people because that's rude, especially not the director when they're trying to direct. Another thing is sometimes other people will throw in their 2 cents. Oh, why don't you film that bird over there? They'll start to direct the actor, say like, oh, you know, they'll say something completely different than what you're going for. Don't let that happen. For lack of better terms, you have to say, hey, you're not the director. We're keeping one director. You don't want to have too many cooks. If the actors are given 10 different lines and notes, you're going to have a mess of a performance and they're going to be confused and annoyed. They're going to be annoyed that you even let someone else tell them how to act. You know, you don't want to let that happen. Every place you leave it looking better than it was when you got there. Don't just go there and make it look like a tornado happened, you know, especially if you are on someone else's property. If you have a friend that let you shoot in their apartment, don't just go there and walk in mud and then walk all over their carpet and make a mess and then don't clean up afterwards. Be respectful of their place. Tidy up, clean up, give them money. Even if they say, oh no, this is for free. Give them something. Give them a gift. Give them a bottle of wine or something. Make them feel good. Make them feel important that they are helping you make your movie. It's only common courtesy. But I get flabbergasted for when I hear, oh, so, you know, I let so-and-so film and then they came in. It was like a tornado was here. They only said a couple people would be there. Then 35 people showed up. My place was a mess afterwards and I'll never let anyone film ever again. You never want to hear that. You never want to ruin it for other filmmakers in the future. Be nice to people. You know, if you're going to be on set at a location that gives you an allotted time, make sure you are wrapped before that time, okay? On or before the time that they give you. Don't overstep your boundaries. Don't stay there way too late. You know, don't be in their liquor cabinet and drinking all their liquor. Don't let the PAs go off and do that. You know, it's all common sense. Also, on set and production assistant, you have a lot of equipment. You have a lot of gear. You want to be able to be safe. If you're in a city area, don't leave your equipment unattended. Have someone look over it at all times. If you're filming in downtown LA on a sidewalk and we got this huge thing of gear, don't leave it unattended. It's all common sense, but you'd be surprised how many people make a stupid blunder or they think, oh, I'll be right back down. I'll just leave it. You'll take it up, come back down, and it'll be gone. I'm sorry. I hate to tell you, not everyone in this world is honest, and if you leave stuff unattended, especially expensive gear, it may get stolen. Use common sense. Keep the crew that you could trust. Keep an eye on your stuff, and everything will be right. If you are dealing with extras, if you have, let's say, if you have 30 extras that you got from Craigslist that you don't know for a party scene, be wary of your stuff. I have heard horror stories of girls in Los Angeles that have had their purses taken being an extra because the other extras end up stealing all their purses or they'll still steal their phone, all this type of stuff. If you have a party scene, definitely vet everyone that is there. Just don't be careless with your stuff. You want to be able to solve problems as they come in. You don't want people to be afraid to come to you with a problem. Why? Because eventually that problem will come up. You will find out about that problem. Or if it's something that, like, oh, the PA didn't want to tell you that they didn't actually order pizza. They were out of pizza, so they had to get salads for everyone. Like, don't let them be afraid. Make sure that you have an open and honest communication so that they're not afraid to tell you any bad news. Just say, hey, this is what happened. Whoever's fault it is, it doesn't matter. Just keep going, keep pushing forward. If it is a person's fault and they royally mess up, sometimes you're going to have to fire them. I sadly had to fire a sound person on rideshare after day 2 or day 3 of listening to unusable sound. And by the way, they were late all 3 days for production, like 30, 45 minutes late. And if you're a sound person, we need sound. You have to let them go. You have to fire them. You have to find someone else. That's the nature of the beast. You can't just, I still paid her for those days, right? She became way more responsive and showed up on time to get her check, of course. That's just how that works. And honestly, I shouldn't have paid her. I regret paying her. And in the contract, if she didn't hold up her end of the bargain, I actually had every right to not pay her. But I felt bad or whatever, and I still wrote her a check. Regardless, that's neither here nor there. I don't have a chip on my shoulder still. No, I definitely do. So you filmed your entire movie and you wrapped. How does it feel? Give yourself some round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause. Come on. Come on, you deserve it. Give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulate yourself because now the real work begins. The post-production process is the longest, toughest process of your filmmaking journey. But it doesn't have to be too painful, and it's actually a lot of fun. Instead of being out on location in the hot sun or filming, doing this, doing that, running around heavy gear, lifting, doing all those things, right now all your problems are just right here on your computer. Step 1, organize and sync all the clips. What you want to do is make sure the video and the audio match up, sync those together. This isn't a technical aspect of the course. There's plenty of online tutorials that you could find about how to do that. I personally use Adobe Premiere Pro. I've been using it since I was 14 years old. I edit a lot of my projects, but I also outsource a lot of my editing as well. I outsource my assistant editing and the rough cut of the editing, and then what I do is I refine the cut. I give editing service notes, and then sometimes I just have them send me the project file, and then I finish the editing myself. So what you want to do is once you have all the audio and video synced up, clips good to go, you've got the scenes ready to be edited, you go through the footage and you check out the clips and the scenes. You can scrub through parts that if it took a while to film or someone had blunders and stuff like that, make sure you label it. In the assistant editing process, actually, when you are labeling each clip, so let's say you're labeling scene 1, take 1, you can look at it and go through. If it's a good take, you can make notes. Like Adobe Premiere Pro has a column where you can make notes on it. Do that. The assistant editing process is really you're just looking through everything kind of with a fine-tooth comb. After you label everything, make sure it's all there. You get to watch back all the takes, see which ones are great. You cut your movie. You start with the scenes. You can start like anything. You can start any scene. You can start editing the last scene first because you're so eager to see the final scene, or you can edit it sequentially. The world is your oyster. Once you edit the scene, you want to be able to watch it back a couple times and see if it's flowing well, if things are awkward, if moments are awkward, if there's empty frames that shouldn't be there. Just be on the lookout for that and watch each scene back. Then what you do is with each scene, add every scene on top of each other until you have a whole feature film. When you have a rough cut put together, very important to watch it back fully. Watch the whole thing back 100% by yourself first, and you can get to see the flow of the film and take notes. Typically what I like to do is the first time I watch it back, I just watch it. If anything really stands out, I'll take notes, then I'll watch it again, and then I'll really take a lot of notes. What you also want to do is give yourself a little bit of time in between editing the scene. So you could edit the scene, you could think it's perfect, think it's awesome, think it's amazing, and then 2 days later you go back and you look at it and it's like, oh wow, now you're looking at it with fresh eyes. Sometimes if you're editing and you're too close to the project, you're too dialed in, you can't really see it as objectively. So it's always important to take a step back and watch the footage back, watch the scenes back with fresh eyes. Also, what you want to do is when you're ready, show it to someone with a critical eye, or show it to someone who doesn't have a critical eye. Send it to someone. I like to send or show clips to one of my friends who likes movies, but he's not necessarily a film aficionado by any means or anything like that. So he can give me a really good idea of a general audience point of view. And then also getting perspectives from other people. Does the storyline make sense? Do the characters make sense? Are some of the characters great, other characters not so great? Sometimes they'll see an editing mistake, or they'll see something in the background that you missed in the editing bay. So it's really important to get a close knit of people that you trust. Don't just send out the link willy-nilly. Obviously, you want to be able to protect your film, and because you want this to be a project that hopefully makes money, earns money. If you're posting it on YouTube, earns you watch time, views, subscribers, all those good things. If it's something you want for a film festival, something that can win you awards, accolades, make it the best you can be within reason. If you have the budget in your film to hire a rock star editor, by all means do so. So there's 3 ways of distributing your feature film. 1, you can send it to a bunch of film festivals and take it to the film festival circuit. 2, you can self-distribute. You can go via YouTube or via self-distribution outlets. Or 3, you can try to sell your movie. You could try to pitch your movie. And which one is right for your film? Now, to answer that question, it depends on what you're looking at trying to do. A lot of apps that want to pay you for your film, or they want to pay you for a license for your movie, if you have all these film accolades, it will definitely help. So film festivals might be your way to go. So how they work is film festivals happen throughout the whole year. If you want to set your movie up for as much success as possible, submit it to as many films as you can. The downside of that is film festivals do not let you publicly release your film or even publicly screen your film before their film festival. Every film festival wants to have that exclusive look. A lot of them want to have the first look, or they want your film to be debuted at their film festival. So be wary of that. Obviously, you want to go for the big ones, right? Go for Sundance, go for Cannes, go for those. In my personal opinion, it's a lot harder these days to get into those film festivals. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I know people that have gotten into those film festivals and they have really good movies, and it is possible, so don't let me discourage you from that. It's just nowadays there's movies in Sundance Film Festivals that star The Rock. There's movies that star Robert De Niro, Vince Vaughn, and I'm like, is this really an indie film? Is this really an independent film distribution outlet? And I personally don't believe so, because it becomes something that when these movies are supposed to be low budget, but they have these huge, higher budget than your or my movies, let's put it that way. If they have this low budget $20 million movie starring Robert De Niro, they're going against the big guys now. Sundance, Cannes, all those film festivals aren't really for the little guys anymore. There's another film festival called Slamdance, which is the opposite of Sundance, essentially. It's more grassroots filmmaker, indie filmmaker campaign type film festivals. So film festivals can be a lot of fun. You go, you basically network with people. You get to see your movie in front of a big audience. You typically don't have to rent out the theater yourself. You just have to pay the film festival a small fee of around $50 or so on average. Some are free, some are higher. I believe Sundance is a couple $100 last I checked. So it really varies. Sundance can have it be like $200 to submit your film because they are the biggest film festival, or one of them. Now, is winning an award at a film festival going to be the be-all and end-all of your movie? The answer is no. So don't think that just because you won Best Picture at the Podunk Valley Film Festival doesn't mean that your movie's going to be seen by millions. It doesn't mean that it's going to be your big break. Of course, if you win the Palme d'Or, if you win the #1 Best Picture award at the Sundance Film Festival or any of those top film festivals, that will pretty much guarantee change your life. And you will most likely get a distribution deal or you will get cash up front. I've heard a lot of horror stories from filmmakers that have a completed film. They sign off distribution rights to so-and-so company, and they end up not being able to release their movie, or it's only released in small certain areas on DVD. And when no one sees or rents or buys DVDs anymore, that can become very frustrating because then no one gets to see your movie. And as a filmmaker, I hope your goal is for people to watch your movie and enjoy your movie. At least that's why we make films, right? If you just make it for yourself, then congratulations, you could watch that movie on your own and live and die that way. But I highly recommend trying to find an audience for your movie, do your best to market that movie. And again, save what I said before this course started is definitely save 30% of your budget for marketing. You want to be able to get people to watch your movie. Okay, so the other way is to have self-distribution for your film. So you have control of your movie. You get to release it on YouTube, Amazon Prime. You could self-distribute. That is a great way you can make sure that you have all the rights to your film. Now, the downside of that is that you might not know what you're doing. You might not already have a huge audience. But the beauty of self-distribution, for example, when I release Rideshare on YouTube, I almost regret doing it sooner because now Rideshare has about 240,000 views last I checked, and it gained several thousand new subscribers for me. It opened up a lot of doors for me because now a lot more people have watched the movie on YouTube. But it didn't necessarily net that type of money because releasing a movie on YouTube isn't as much money as you could if the equivalent people watched it on a Tubi TV or Amazon Prime or one of those bigger streaming apps that can pay you out a lot more. Now, a lot of people want to sell their movie now. Do you think that people will buy your film? Do you think people that if you are a first-time unknown filmmaker with unknown actors, will you be able to sell your movie for $20, digital download? Maybe you will. Maybe you have enough network people in your network that will buy it. I mean, hey, if you get 1,000 people to buy your $20 film, you get $20K back, and that's great. Congratulations. What you really want to do is you want to make as much money as possible and all that, but you have to figure out your own route for your movie. Do you want to go the film festival route? If not, like the downside of the film festival route is you have to wait at least a year to release anything. So you won't be able to distribute. You could have Netflix knocking on your door saying, hey, we want to release your movie in February, but you submit it to all these film festivals, and then now you have to cancel your film festivals, which I would. In that case, I would accept the Netflix deal and sign on. But another thing, though, even if you get a Netflix deal, that doesn't necessarily mean that your movie is going to be seen by everyone. Doesn't mean that Netflix is going to be pushing it on their app. You know, they've got tens of thousands of titles that get buried in their app. And as cool as it sounds to be on Netflix, I've also heard horror stories of people that have signed with Netflix and then they end up getting a 5-year licensing deal, and it's like a $20,000 licensing deal, but they get paid quarterly out in 5-year increments, so it ends up being a very small amount of money, and then they can't license it out anywhere else for that 5 years. So that's another thing, though. But again, every deal is different. Some people have gotten a lot more money from Netflix. So really, the dream is to, if you can either sell your movie, sign off the rights, but get cash up front, that would be amazing in an ideal world. But ultimately, at least for me and my goals, I would much rather prefer to own the rights to my movie, being able to make the money back to my own company and not have to worry about all these other third parties. I've also heard a lot of horror stories with distribution. One company in particular signed a filmmaker that I know for a 7-year licensing deal for all United States and Canada. Is that said that the filmmaker won't make a dime until the company makes $30,000. Now, 30 grand is a decent amount of money, especially for no budget, low budget film. And also these companies say that they put up billboards in areas, and then at least on my friend's case. I've heard other horror stories where the distributor said, hey, we put up a billboard in Guam, for example, for $50,000. Now you owe us $50,000. That could easily ruin your company. It could ruin your career and just discourage you all around. You want to partner with someone that is going to be there with you, that believes in your project and is going to be working with you. Ultimately, though, don't think that all these apps, even if you sign with a good distributor, don't think that they're going to be working for you 24/7. They typically have hundreds of others or thousands of other people that they're working with. They're not necessarily going to put you on a pedestal just because you signed a deal with them. The biggest thing to overlook is audio and sound. You want to be able to mix and master the sound and audio for your movie, which costs money, but it is so worth it. I had to do a Kickstarter for my first movie, Rideshare, where we needed an additional $10,000 to do the post-production, Foley, mixing, mastering, score, all that good stuff. And even when I thought I was done with the movie, we weren't done with the movie because it still needed some cleanup and Foley work. It's not cheap. So we had, but even then, I got a great deal. It was 3 guys working at it for 3 weeks at a time. So, you know, if you figure each guy was making $3,300 total, they were typically making $1,100 a week working full time. So it ends up not being that much money. If you think about, oh my gosh, $10,000, wow, that's so much money. But it is so worth it because the audio is great. You can blast it. It sounds good. It's mixed and mastered perfectly. So definitely don't overlook the sound. There is Foley, there's music. You want your audience to have a great experience watching the movie. They don't want the dialogue to be lost. Sometimes the music is way too loud, the dialogue's way too low, or the dialogue's way too loud, the music's way too low, or there's music in it for no reason when you don't even need to have music in there. There's a lot of different ways you can make it, but it's ultimately your movie. A great way to see if it's mixed and mastered or listen to it is maybe it was mixed and mastered in these excellent 5.1 surround sound speakers, but then when you watch it on someone's television with just the TV speakers, it's still off. That's still a bad sound mix. You want to get someone that knows what they're doing, and it goes back to hiring the right people or working with the right people that know what they're doing or they can learn what they're doing. If you have a friend that wants to be an audio engineer or mixer or masterer, that's a great friend to have, and definitely work with them, making the best product possible because you want it to look great, you want it to sound great and look professional so people can take you seriously as a filmmaker. And the last thing you want is someone to be like, oh, the movie was great, it was well acted, but the sound was really crappy. It looked like a Mickey Mouse production. You don't want that. You don't want the technical aspects to be part of the complaints from the audience from your film. Post-production can take years, guys. It could take years or it could take months, but either way, it's worth getting done right. Anything worth doing is worth doing right. So definitely take your time on post, be completely proud of it. But you also need to release it into the wild. If you feel like if someone's saying, hey, you're going to need $100,000 more for visual effects or something crazy, or they're trying to say that you need all these different things, unfortunately, you have to make compromises based on your budget. If you don't have it in your budget to have these crazy visual effects or crazy fancy title sequences or stuff like that, then keep it minimal, keep it simple. Where, you know, ultimately you want to have your story done, you want to have your movie complete and in the best way possible. Don't go too cheap, and yeah, have fun. I mean, watch it back several times before you premiere it. Any movie could be edited till the cows come home. You could always do reshoots later. You could, add in a bunch of visual effects. You can add in a super fancy credit sequence and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, just have a deadline for your movie so you just get it done. Get it out there, have a premiere, have a great time, and work on your next movie. So thank you so much for joining me on this journey to make a movie. Thank yourself, honestly, thank yourself for becoming a filmmaker and taking this course and take action today on making your next movie. If you guys have any questions for me whatsoever, leave in the comments. If there's anything that you would like me to delve deeper in, I will definitely be able to update the course, give you guys as much info as humanly possible because you guys are awesome filmmakers and I want you guys to be the next best filmmakers of the world, and I cannot wait to see your movies. This is Tremain Hayho. Happy filmmaking. And remember, you can make movies or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. Thank you for tuning into 48 Hour Film School. Happy filmmaking, everybody. Tremain Hayho